On the eastern coast of Milgana is the largest and most powerful nation currently standing, the Empire of Hakar. It's a bit hard to miss, actually. Hakar is a highly decentralized monarchy consisting of 49 provinces, 16 republics, 10 kingdoms, 9 governorates, 5 free cities, and 2 imperial cities. While the history of Hakar technically stretches back to the beginning of the era of conquest, the empire as we know it today, in 42 of Fourth Era, was formed less than 1,000 years ago. Today we'll be looking at the history and administration of the Empire of Hakar. The era of conquest ended in its 4,318th year with the fall of Old Hakar City. This here is a map of the original kingdom of Hakar and its 9 client states around 4300 of the Second Era. However, the story of the empire begins not in the kingdom of Hakar itself, but rather in the northern client state of Sakartha, right up here. The kingdom of Sakartha, following Hakar's collapse, would exert its sovereignty once again. It was roughly 2,000 years later that Sakartha truly began to take shape, as it managed to retake Hakar city itself. And, unlike the many varying duchies, tribes, and sovereign cities that had tried to control the city in the millennia since the kingdom's collapse, actually managed to hold on to it. The city of Hakar, though mostly ruins, with only the very outskirts being populated, became an integral part of Sakartha. Important to note is the nearby kingdom of Skorhak, where around 500 years later, the by now far more imposing realms of Sakartha and Skorhak would unite their royal families and merge into a single country. While the capital would be in Sakartha, the Skorhakans didn't wish for the union to be seen as a total annexation. They proposed instead choosing a new name for the combined realm. While Sakartha owned Hakar city, it was actually a Skorhakan prince that suggested that the legitimacy gained from claiming to be the continuation of the old kingdom of Hakar would make for a cause that all could unite behind. And so it was. And on the first day of winter, in the 2511th year of the Era of Tyrants, the Empire of Hakar was officially born. Over the next 150 years, the empire would conquer new lands, primarily to the northwest. By this point, the empire was becoming a true force to be reckoned with. By 2700, finalized border agreements meant stable, for the time, boundaries with the newly formed Faltan Torsti Union to the north and the powerful Ligas Kingdom to the south. Then, nearly 30 years later, the empire would lead the Free Realms Coalition to victory in the Great War between the Lakes, which will be touched on a lot more in the Poirni Empire video, against the Third Poirni Empire. In the process, the kingdom of Heliktor would be annexed and vastly diminished in size. The kingdom of Tordan would also willingly join the empire, fearing an invasion as soon as the war in the west ended. After the war did end, the empire would gain large tracts of land in the west from the defeated Poirnis. It was then that Emperor Justus VII would proclaim the start of a new era. And thus, at the end of the 2731st year, the Era of Tyrants came to an end, and the yet unnamed Fourth Era began. In the over 4 decades since, the Empire of Hakar has claimed territory from the imploding Ligas Kingdom, as did the Commonwealth of Trovtal and the Great Maritime Federation. In only the past decade, the Empire launched a surprise invasion of the Faltan Torsti Union, seizing many of the hills in the north that had once served as a natural barrier between the two realms. In addition, a successful naval landing would lead to the capture of the Aflant Peninsula in the northeast. Since annexing this territory, the entire peninsula has been consumed by near constant violence and unrest. Following the fall of the Third Poirni Empire, the Empire of Hakar has been without question the most powerful nation of Milgana. How long the empire can hold on to their unchallenged dominance, however, remains to be seen. The Empire of Hakar is ruled, of course, by an emperor. The current emperor, Merit IV, has been on the throne for 7 years and is 31 years old. The imperial family of Hakar, the Hakort dynasty, has ruled uninterrupted since the founding of the empire. They are renowned both domestically and foreign for their unusual foreign names, incredibly strict rites of passage for heirs, and their aversion to appearing before the public. It was seen as revolutionary when Justus VII appeared before the common people in Grand Sakarth to declare the start of a new era. Typically, emperors are only seen by the public during their coronation. The emperor's advisory body is known as the Assembly of Citizens. In practice, most citizens are chosen through generous gifts to the head of their local region. All provinces send 3 citizens, republics 5, governorates 2, free cities 3, and all kingdoms 8, despite being exempt from most laws. The assembly is purely advisory, however the emperor will often accept drafts put forward by the assembly. Additionally, the Council of Kings is an unofficial yet powerful body comprised of the 10 kingdoms within the empire. Though they have no legal basis, they are seen as more powerful than the assembly. Resolutions are passed only through consensus, and the kingdoms are together powerful enough that the emperor is forced in nearly all cases to officially decree any resolutions the council passes. The emperor does not govern entirely alone. Instead, other members of the imperial family serve as ministers of different state functions. The throne is not passed down through primogeniture. Rather, the possible heirs are put through a rigorous set of tests and trials, the details of which have never been made known, with the victor being declared the crown prince or princess. The other failed heirs who performed well enough are then trained in individual state functions, and then accede to the post of minister once the heir that bested them takes the throne. Ministers can pass relevant laws as they see fit, however the emperor can revoke a law at any time for any reason. Ministers cannot legally be dismissed by the emperor, though. While in practice there would be little to stop an emperor from forcing the issue, none have ever attempted it. Theoretically, the emperor would be held in check by the imperial wardens, a small secretive group that facilitates the choosing of a new heir as well as crowning an emperor upon their accession. The wardens are chosen by the sitting emperor and serve for life. Wardens historically have been chosen mainly for loyalty, and so any intervention against the emperor is unlikely. While the emperor is by far the most powerful entity in the empire, power is decentralized throughout Hakar. The different types of imperial subjects each have their own relationship with the imperial government. From least to most autonomous are the imperial cities, governorates, provinces, republics, free cities, and kingdoms. The imperial cities, governorates, and provinces are considered part of the empire proper, while the republics, free cities, and kingdoms are considered part of the Hakari hegemony. All of these regions are part of the Empire of Hakar, but this classification descends from the early days of the empire, when associated realms were officially considered independent nations, yet in practice were little more than autonomous regions of Hakar. Over time, it became unpopular to refer to these locations as independent, even as a formality, and the guise of freedom became unnecessary. The first type of subject is the imperial city, of which there are only two: the capital, Grand Sakarth, and the historic Old Hakar city. Imperial cities are possessions of the imperial family and governed as such. Guards and civil administrators answer directly to the emperor and ministers. Imperial cities aren't afforded any representation in the assembly as citizens, and have no autonomy from the central government of the empire. Next up are governorates. Governorates are officially also possessions of the imperial family, however are not administered directly. An appointed governor heads each governorate. In practice, governorates are little more than temporary ways to pacify conquered territories. Recently acquired lands with risk of instability from the residents are administered as governorates until they are deemed pacified enough to become full provinces. Provinces themselves are the standard division of Hakari administration. Each is headed by a lord, a hereditary title that can be revoked by the emperor at any time. Historically, lords have rarely had titles revoked, and even in those exceptional cases, the title was immediately granted to a different noble family. Provinces have effectively little autonomy, however, lords in good standing with the emperor may be shown more leniency to rule as they see fit. Republics, despite their name, aren't necessarily democratic in nature. Each republic is able to organize their government however they wish, so long as they remain loyal to the empire. Most republics join the empire in treaties, or otherwise prove their willingness to cooperate with the imperial government. Provinces generally do not become republics in the way that governorates become provinces. Republics are given a large amount of autonomy and pass their own laws and decrees, though these must comply with imperial law. Criminals within republics are also tried and punished by the republic itself, not the imperial government. The free cities are 5 cities and their surrounding lands that successfully petitioned the emperor for their autonomy from the imperial government during the war between the lakes. Each of the free cities technically consists of multiple cities or settlements, but in every case, one city dominates the region with absolute control. Free cities are each ruled by a mayor and, like republics, are responsible for their own laws and justice. Free cities are also able to regulate their own trade, provided that they send a certain portion of revenue to the imperial government and allow inspection at any time. Finally, we come to the kingdoms. Kingdoms are all but independent realms. Kingdoms are the only subjects allowed to raise their own armies. Though they are obligated to come to the empire's military aid when called, they maintain and organize their militaries however they wish, as opposed to only the peacekeeping guards other subjects possess. Kingdoms are also exempt from any laws that aren't specifically directed taxation or related to foreign relations. The 10 kingdoms each have unique relationships with one another, and meet often to discuss politics and pass resolutions as the Council of Kings. Due to their prominence, I'll list the kingdoms here. The 10 kingdoms of Hakar are Tordon, Boridko, Figolda, Kudar, Dahistor, Hliktor, Hokost, Skorhak, Pograkar, and Kristakago and Kogago. And with that, we're done looking at the Empire of Hakar. Next time we'll be looking at the Fourth Poirni Empire. If you have a specific nation you'd like to see after that, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. I would appreciate it if you subscribed or left a like, and see you next time.